to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be sharing with you 10 Disneyland Paris tips for families. I already have one of these videos up. I will link it down below, maybe put it in the thingy-majiggy up here if you wanted to check that out. That is from my trip last year when I went with just my son. All the tips I got from that trip. But this time I'm going to be doing more tips, but this time I've been with a baby and a toddler, so I've got a few more suggestions for you if you're interested. If you are new around here, hello, my name is Caroline. I am a mother of two little ones. I have a 7-month-old daughter and a 3-year-old son, nearly 4 years old, and we love Disney. Big fans. Me and my husband have been to Walt Disney World and Disneyland California and Disneyland Paris, and recently we have been to Disneyland Paris with the kids as well. So last year we went with my son when he was 2, and this year obviously we've just come back from a trip, and it was so magical. Seeing Disneyland through the eyes of a child is just the best feeling in the world. When you go as an adult, it's incredible, don't get me wrong. Absolutely loved the time me and my husband spent in Disney and Disney World, but now seeing it through my son's eyes, more so my son than my 7-month-old, who has no idea what's going on, seeing him meet the characters was just the most wholesome thing I've ever experienced in my life. It's amazing. When we went last year, he was 2. It was COVID times as well, so we had to wear masks and we couldn't actually meet the characters, so we could see them but they're behind a fence. This time though, he could hug them, he could interact with them, and it was just wonderful. I can't even explain to you how amazing it was. And one of my tips from my previous video, which I'm going to just reiterate now, is that when you go to Disneyland or Disney World with kids, your whole perspective changes. So obviously when you go as adults, if you've ever been as an adult by yourself, you want to go on all the rides, you want to meet all the characters, you want to see the parades, the fireworks, you want to do everything. When you go with a kid, everything slows down, and for example, in our experience, we went to Extra Magic Hours and we spent half an hour of that Extra Magic Hour queuing up to meet Winnie the Pooh. Me and my husband were really annoyed because I was like, I need to get on that Peter Pan ride. It's my favourite ride. It's not a Disney trip without a Peter Pan ride. We did make it on there, but we waited half an hour for Winnie the Pooh and we weren't happy about it. But then when my son met Winnie the Pooh, it was all worth it. The half an hour wait was worth it, and the fact that we had missed 30 minutes queuing up to meet Winnie the Pooh instead of going out and doing all the other rides that can get big queues for them wasn't the end of the world. After he'd met him, we realised it was actually probably the better thing to do. My son doesn't care about the rides yet. He's too little to understand what the rides are. He saw Winnie the Pooh and was like, I need to meet him. He is one of his favourites. So all that being said, let me just get into my top 10 tips from this year. I would say with a 7-month-old baby or younger, or maybe a few months older as well, because she is very buggy bound, or in the carrier, I don't have that many tips for her because she literally was just carried on as normal, and the routine was more like she was just in the buggy the whole time. So she just fell asleep when she wanted to and woke up when she wanted to. We got her out, gave her a little bit of food here and there. My only tip, which isn't really part of this video, but my only tip would be is if you're bringing a baby with you who's just started weaning, just bring pouches. So I do baby-led weaning with my little girl, but I was like, you know what, I'm not going to worry about, you know, cooking broccoli or like finding broccoli somewhere to be able to give her at like a restaurant. I'm just going to bring some pouches with me, and then if she has them, she does. If she doesn't, she doesn't. So I didn't really do much solid foods with her because it wasn't really necessary. Because she is so little and so new to weaning, it wasn't a priority for me. But yeah, that would be a small tip if you're going with little kids who are just started weaning or have, you know, in the early stages of weaning, or even like 1 to maybe 9 months old. I wouldn't worry too much about solid foods. Too much, just do the purees. They'll be fine with it. As long as you get purees with like lentils in or like a protein in that will fill them up, then you're good to go. So that's just a little bonus tip there. Previous video has some great tips in, so make sure you do check that out. But these are just a few more that I picked up this time round. First of all, this is especially if you're going with kids, you must, we made this mistake and we didn't do it. Please, when you are packing, buy packing cubes. They're little bags which go inside your suitcase and make everything organised. When we went on holiday last year, just to Spain, me and my husband said to ourselves, we're going to get packing cubes because it will just make life easier, and then obviously all the kids' stuff is just in one place, it's not all just jumbled about everywhere. Well, we didn't do it. This time we've gone to Disney, and obviously Disney is so fast paced, and you bring in so much stuff, you want outfits you want to wear, and you're not there for long enough to really warrant unpacking absolutely everything. So a lot of our stuff stayed in the suitcases, and I tell you, If we had had packing cubes, it would have made life so much easier. I'll link some below if you're not too sure what they are. We haven't bought any yet because we haven't got any holidays coming up yet. They are on my mind and they are on my Amazon like wish list. Like I have like a saved list on Amazon of things to buy. So I'll link them down below if you don't know what they are. But basically, packing cubes would have made our life so much easier because there were days when I was just like, what are these kids wearing today? Alleviate stress, get packing cubes. And then my next tip is to bring snacks. If your toddler is anything like my toddler, they will eat non-stop, but snacks are a must depending on how you're getting to Disney. Obviously, if you're flying, you've got to be a little bit more mindful. You might have to go to the shops when you get to Disney. If you are getting the train or you're driving, bring as many snacks as you can. We brought an entire like freezer bag filled with like dry snacks. We had croissants, we had wafers, we had biscuits, chocolate bars, crackers, crisps, like those fruit roll-ups. I bought everything possible that I might possibly need for a snack for my son. I brought a little lunchbox for him, then every night when he was asleep I would just fill this lunchbox filled with snacks, and then in the day I'd just give that to him, and he probably would eat it most of the time by like 11 o'clock, because you know how kids are, they'll eat breakfast and then be like so hungry, then come to lunch and the rest of the day they're not hungry at all. So he would eat everything by about 11:30, and then throughout the day if we went out for meals we would buy him something occasionally, but he didn't always eat it. In my previous tips video, one of the tips I said was you're only going away for like maybe maximum 5 days, so don't get too caught up on the amount of junk your kids eat. That is so true with this one as well. If you're giving your kids snacks and then they're having chips later, although you are desperate for your kids to eat something green, don't worry about it. You're on holiday, and let's be serious, Disneyland Paris is a theme park. Green foods are few and far between. So yeah, just bring loads and loads of snacks. A big tip as well, I highly recommend doing this, is if your child has a particular cereal they like, and if you haven't got like a breakfast plan, because they are quite expensive, if you haven't got like a breakfast meal place booked, what we did is we put the cereal that my son liked in a big Ziploc bag. We did 3 days worth of cereal in one Ziploc bag, and then we brought a bowl and his spoon with us, and then we bought some milk in the shops before we went. But obviously if you're flying, you won't be able to take milk, maybe buy some when you're over there. And then we brought some milk, and then every morning we would just give him a bowl of cereal. The hotel we stayed in had no fridge, just bear that in mind that Disney hotels don't generally have fridges, but because we went in the colder months, it didn't matter too much because the room was cold enough to keep the milk not from going off. You can obviously bring little sachets of milk or other types of like UHT milk and stuff if that works for you, but it was great for us because we would give my son his cereal in the morning, get him ready, give him his cereal, then me and my husband can get ready quickly, and he was just entertained watching TV and eating cereal, which worked to dreams. That's a tip. Bring cereal. Also bring Ziploc bags with you. We didn't utilise this as much because I forgot them. I booked one breakfast as a character breakfast, and I was meant to bring Ziploc bags with me because I've seen online that you can bring a Ziploc bag with you, and any food on your plate which you don't finish, you can't go up to the counter and fill up your Ziploc bag, but any food on your plate which you don't finish, you can put in a Ziploc bag and then take away with you for the parks for the day. Now, I'm not sure if you'll get told off for doing this, but the Facebook group which I followed said that you could do this because it's food off your plate and not direct from the counter. For the one breakfast that we had in the parks, I forgot my Ziploc bag, so we didn't end up doing this. But yeah, apparently if you bring a Ziploc bag with you to the parks, you can then take your food away with you for the day, and that'll be an added snack for you. My next tip is to bring a Sharpie. This was one of my tips for Walt Disney World way back in 2016, is to bring a Sharpie pen for autograph books. And did I remember to do that this year? No. And so we had to buy a really rubbish, expensive Biro Mickey Mouse pen from the Disney shops. It actually broke. We bought it on the Wednesday, and on the Friday it broke and wasn't writing anymore. Buzz Lightyear struggled to write his autograph. Thankfully the cast member had a pen that he could use instead. In the end we did actually take that pen back to the shop and they let us switch it out, which is great. But yeah, bring a Sharpie. It's a lot easier for the characters to hold and to be able to sign. If you can get a clicky one, that's even better because then you haven't got to faff about with lids. Yeah, bring a Sharpie. So much easier for autographs, and I think autographs look better with a Sharpie as well than they do a Biro. So yeah, there's that. So my next tip is a little bit of a do your own research one. I brought a buggy lock or bike chain lock for our buggy for the parks when we were all going on a ride or a show together and we didn't want to leave the buggy unattended, so to speak. Now this is something that I don't know if it's super necessary, but our buggy was quite expensive. I did get it off eBay, but brand new, they're quite expensive. Has a double seat to it as well, so my son and my daughter could both sit in it, and I just didn't want to risk someone walking off with it because I have heard horror stories about buggies being stolen from Disney. So I will link the chain that we use down below. So there is a tip. So if you do have an expensive buggy and you are, you know, worried that someone might nick it, I do recommend getting a lock for it and putting it through the extra seat as well. That's a big tip. Don't forget to like thread it through any seats you have. We did also use this for the carrier because I had the carrier with me. Another bonus tip as well here is if you have a baby that can fit in the carrier, always put the carrier in the buggy with you every single day just to have it just in case. It made life easier, especially for the parades and stuff. I could just shove her in the carrier so she wasn't like lost by herself in the buggy, not getting the chance to see what was going on. So when we would leave the buggy to go on like the Lion King show or the Frozen show, or if we went on the Peter Pan ride together, I would thread the chain through the buggy wheel, through the additional seat, and also through the strap of our carrier. Obviously take all your bags and stuff with you, you don't want to leave those in the buggy. It just meant that I felt safer leaving my buggy there, and there was no worry that someone would just walk off with my buggy and then I'll be left without. So yeah, obviously you don't necessarily need one. People do say that you might not need one, and theft isn't really a big thing in Disney, but it could happen, and I don't want it to happen to me or you. So, you know, and the chain itself was, I think, inexpensive, about £15. It's worth it if you ask me. It is a bit time consuming though, I have to say, threading it through and unthreading it. It's a bit annoying, but swings and roundabouts. Speaking of buggies, my son is 3.5. He's a very competent walker. He's very happy about walking everywhere, but he, especially after day one, the days 3 and 4, well, days 2, 3 and 4, he was in the buggy a lot of the time. So if you have an older kid, and I saw kids of like ages of 5 sitting in buggies as well. If you have an older kid, maybe bring your buggy with you, maybe buy a cheaper one. You can also rent them out as well in Disney as well. I saw people with like the generic sort of pushchair type thing. You could always bring a buggy for your like baby, if your baby has a buggy, and then like one of those like fold up umbrella ones you can put underneath and whip out if your older kid needs it. Yeah, I would recommend a buggy, because little legs get tired, big legs get tired too, but it's something where I think a lot of people assume that because their kids are competent walkers at home, in Disney they'll be fine as well, but that's not the case. There's a lot of walking at Disney. Or actually you could do, if you're happy with it, you can always put your little one in a carrier and a bigger one in the buggy. But for me, I don't particularly like having my daughter in the carrier too much because it hurts my shoulder, it hurts my back, and I find it really like, I can't move as easy as my baby in the carrier. So I was very happy to have the 2 seats on my buggy. Made life so much easier. Also a great way to get places quicker. I found that sometimes we would be like, get off a ride and be like, okay, we can get over to, if we would like come off a ride, say Peter Pan, and be like, okay, Buzz Lightyear's only got like a 5-minute wait, let's whip around there. It was so much easier just being able to chuck my son in the buggy and just whip round instead of waiting for him to walk, because obviously it takes longer, get distracted, and just kids just like to dawdle, and so just being able to throw him in the buggy and just walk over quickly to the Buzz Lightyear ride just saved a lot of time and stress. The thing we forgot, which was really annoying, we managed to make do without it, but a blanket for legs. I bought everything I needed for my daughter, so she had her like, you know, her buggy pram suit, and then she had the, you know, the insert that comes in a buggy, like the fleece line thing. She was set. I forgot that my son needed a blanket too. Completely forgot that. Luckily I just used one of my hoodies. I didn't want to buy a whole blanket because we've got about 1 million in the house. So in the end I just used a hoodie and we worked out fine that way. Especially if you're going to stay out for the fireworks shows or the drone shows, whatever's on when you go. You need something warm to cover legs because it gets chilly. I think even in the summer months, I haven't actually been to Disneyland Paris when it's been super hot, but I think it can get cooler in the night time. It's just good to have a blanket just to be safe, just be prepared. So yeah, bring a blanket, add that to your packing list now. I'm not sure if this is controversial or not. I'm not sure if this tip is something that everyone would want to do. But as we have now left the EU, you can claim back tax in France. So obviously when you buy things in France, not food, when you buy souvenirs, you pay a tax as you do, you know, buying things in England. But because we're no longer part of the EU, the tax you pay, you can claim back because obviously we're not part of the EU anymore. So, so that's something you can actually do. We did do this time. It's a little bit of a faff. It's very easy to do, and I'm not sure. It's tricky because I did it, but then I feel a bit bad doing it because I feel like I'm taking away, you know, money for an economy. I don't know. I feel really odd about it, but yeah, you can claim back tax now. So we did it. I'm not sure of all the logistics behind it because I've read online that you have to claim back within 2 days of your purchase, and we were leaving on our 4th day when I did it. We didn't get tax for 2 days. I don't know, I didn't look into it, I just got the receipts, gave them to the lady, she did the stuff. So we got 17 euros back, so it's not absolutely, you know, phenomenal. You're not gonna be able to like do much with that, but it was better than nothing. Essentially, again, I would say do your research on this because I'm not an expert, but what we did, you save all your receipts of souvenirs, and then every 2 days, from what I gather, every 2 days you need to go to where we went. I think there were a couple of places, but the place we went was the fashion fair shop in Disney Village. There's like a little person, little booth sitting there. You give them your receipts, they'll go through all the receipts. You need your passport with you so they can clarify you are a British citizen, so you're not part of the EU, and then they do some like stuff on the computer and they can add up all the tax you owe back. They will then tell you how much will be transferred onto a card, and then they give you a piece of paper, and this piece of paper you must keep it safe, and then when you are leaving, again, we left via Eurostar, so I'm not sure how this works in airports. I'm sure it's the same, but I don't know where the booths are. But when you go through security for the Eurostar, there's like a little booth there, and you scan the barcode on this piece of paper, and it verifies that you are leaving the country, and the money is transferred into your account a couple of days later. That's a very, very, very layman's term description of how to do it. Like I said, this is the first time I've done it. It was very easy. It was a little bit of a faff. I wouldn't recommend leaving it to the last minute. We left it to the last day, you know, an hour before we had to catch, or hour before we were leaving. Not before we had to catch a train, that would be pushing it. But we had a bit of a run around trying to find the correct places to go to get it all done. It takes a little while they count up all the money and stuff you've spent and the tax accrued and stuff like that. So don't leave it to your last day. Or to the last minute. If you wanted to claim back tax, you can, and that is how you do it. Like I say, it's not like a super amount of money, but it's better than nothing, I suppose, if that tickles your fancy. Another thing to add to your packing list, do it now, write it down now, lip balm. You need lip balm and hand cream, but lip balm, oh my gosh. I don't know what happens in theme parks, but your lips will fall off your face. You need a good lip balm because, our lips were so dry, just all getting cracked around the edges. Yeah, pack lip balm. Do not forget it. Put it in your bag for the park and just don't forget it. Something that revolutionised my trip was joining a Disneyland Paris Facebook group. I will link down below, or maybe right on screen, one of the two, the group I'm part of. It is amazing. Any tips, any questions, everything is in this group. It's just basically filled with people who love Disneyland, who go to Disneyland. Everything is on there. If you have a question, you put it on that group and someone will answer it. And it's just amazing. I highly recommend it. It's how I knew about the tax thing, especially if it's the first time you're going. If you join this Facebook group, if you have any questions at all, someone will be able to answer it for you. And then my final trip is something which I didn't know about until this trip here. I'm not sure if we made a mistake last year by not utilising this experience, but then I don't know if we got it because of COVID. I'm not sure what was available at the time, but there's a thing called Disney Express, and it is incredible. Again, because the Eurostar, the direct Eurostar anyway, is finishing in June, I'm not sure if this is going to be here after that, but the Disney Express service is incredible. I'm hoping they keep it because honestly it's just an absolute game changer. Essentially what it is, you get off the train, you go upstairs, you manoeuvre through the silly huge train station, which blows my mind. I don't know how anyone ever knows where they're going in that place because nothing is signposted. But you go upstairs and there's a big sign that says Disney Express, and you will give them your suitcase or suitcases or however many bags you want to give them. They put a little tag on it. You head off to the parks. Your suitcase will be in your hotel by like 5 o'clock that same day. It is amazing. It saved us, you know, about an hour, 2 hours of faffing about lugging our suitcases to the hotel, checking in and all that jazz. Like, it was just so much easier. It meant, because last year I don't know if we had this service last year, we didn't use it if we did do it, but last year, because we didn't have the direct Eurostar, travel there took a lot longer than I would have liked. And then by the time we'd taken our bags to our hotel room, sort of like unpacked a little bit, you know, freshened up a bit, it was like 5 o'clock, and so by the time we got to the parks, my son, who was 2, was exhausted, so we had dinner and then came home, so we sort of wasted a whole afternoon. So bringing the bags to the Disney Express service and they were taken to the hotel for us was amazing, and the same thing happened on the way back as well. So in the morning of your departure day, you take your bags to the bag drop place in your hotel, and then they will be at the train station later on the day. It's incredible. It meant you could spend more time in the parks, which is so important, especially with Disneyland, where you're not there for like, you know, 2 weeks, you're only there for a few days. And it's just such an amazing service. It took such a lot of stress out of the trip, especially with little kids. You don't be walking backwards and forwards with kids, because it's it's just too much. You have the Disney Express service, check your invoice. If you have the Disney Express, make sure you utilise it because it is incredible. That is 10 tips, but actually I thought of another one whilst I'm doing this. There is the Disneyland app. Make sure you download it. It's not so much a tip that, because I think that is sort of like a given. Whenever you book your trip, it will say download the app. Make sure you download the app because that's an incredible app. It tells you the park times, wait times, everything you need is on that app. Make sure you download it. One thing that I did this year, which I haven't seen before, is you can actually check in online the day, I think it's like up to 2 days before your arrival date on the app. And they want you to like fill out some like police forms, which you print off at home. I think you can maybe have to fill it in online, I'm not sure. But you print out these police forms, you fill them in, and it's just essentially asking who you are, your address, your passport number, and it's just like, I think you do it when we've been before, you have to fill it out at the desk when you check into your hotel room. But this way, you did it before you left, and when you got to the hotel, when you checked in the evening, because you'd already checked in online, you literally just said, I'm here, here's my form, and they gave you your key to the room, and that was it. Instead of having to like wait for ages, having to fill in forms at the desk when you just want to get to your room and lay down. So yeah, make sure you check out the online check-in service on the app a few days before you go. And that is it. I think I've covered everything. Like I said, I will link my previous tip video down below, which offers some great tips too. Make sure you check it out. And I hope this has been helpful for you. If you have enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a big fat thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. I've got more Disney content coming your way soon. Loads of Disney playlists as well. Make sure you check them out because I've been to Disney a fair few times since 2016. If you want to check out some vlogs, I'll link them below maybe. I'm not sure if I can. I'll try to link a few vlogs below for you. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Goodbye.